welcome to a special edition of Film Strip Sessions. I'm Jay.
I'm Brian.
I'm Nick.
I'm Irina.
I'm Kurt.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Lindsey.
That's right. We've got the whole crew here to wrap up the year on Film Strip, for better or worse, as this may go. And credit where it's due. Brian, you wanted to do something like this back in October around Halloween time, but we had a packed month in October. So what made you decide, hey, let's get everybody on one show together?
It sounded like a good time at the time. Now I'm regretting that choice.
So this is the most we've ever had on one podcast, but it should be a lot of fun. We decided to move this little roundtable discussion for our end of the year special. And what we're going to do is have each of us kind of go around the digital roundtable here and list a favorite holiday movie. And the person's going to say what they like about it, why they picked it, special memories, etc. And then the rest of the gang can weigh in if they choose to do so. The only rule is once something is picked, it's then off the table. So if we were doing this at like Valentine's Day and Brian, you picked Pretty Woman, I wouldn't be able to talk about that one. You know, I would just be able to say, you know, oh yeah, I know that one too, and so on and so forth. But other than that, there's no more rules. So let's get things started with our newest member, Lindsey. You said on your first edition of Film Strip when you were back on the November sessions that Christmas movies are your jam this time of the year. So start us off with a favorite holiday film of yours.
So this is not just my favorite holiday film. It is one of my probably top 5 favorite films. True story. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Hands down, best Christmas movie ever released. I've been watching this movie yearly, often probably 3 or 4 times throughout the month of November and December. And it's one of my dad's favorites. And I think, I don't know, probably 4 years ago, I totally went through like the same, we were promised a Christmas bonus and then got a really crap Christmas bonus, like Jelly Club of the Month. So it hit a little close to home that year. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I normally do, but still one of my top Christmas movies, top favorite movies, and so many great one-liners.
I mean, yeah, who can forget the whole bit about Chevy Chase's character Clark wanting his boss tied up and you're left for dead out in the middle of nowhere or whatever, and then Cousin Eddie delivering that present right there in the living room.
Well, I was just thinking too about like his you know, his little line, like, where's the tie and all? I think we're all going to be doing that after this podcast.
I think my favorite scene of that movie is the one where he's putting the lights on and can't figure out how to do it. She flips a switch and they all go on and it blinds the neighbors and they're just falling over everywhere, breaking stuff. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I don't know, Margot.
Why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I think the question, though, has to come up is, who in this group is the Cousin Eddie of their family? What do you guys think?
So since I haven't seen it, so what? Lindsey, you're going to have to come over here and cuddle cats and drink wine, and we will watch it together.
100%. I'm in.
I demand live texting of this while this happens because I've been a part of those with y'all, and it's
you
glorious.
know you'll get all of the live texts.
All of the live texts. It'll be a play-by-play.
Play-by-play.
Kurt and Ron, Christmas Vacation. Any thoughts?
I think I saw it for the first time last year, and I thought it was funny. It's like, it's a little dated in that they don't really make movies like that anymore. But when it's funny, it's very funny. And my favorite bit is where I think there's a scene where they're lighting the lights and it doesn't go off, and we got the whole family gathered. And E.G. Marshall, who's great in the movie, as I think it's Beverly D'Angelo's dad. She says to E.G. Marshall, he worked really hard on this, Dad. And E.G. Marshall says, yeah, so do washing machines. I don't know why, but that line
Yeah.
Oh, this is by far one of my favorite holiday movies. This is definitely was my number one. But I figured it would be gone. So I made sure to have a few different ones in the tank. But yeah, I love this movie. I watch it every year. I've actually got it on DVD because one year I missed the airing on the TBS airing. So I went out and bought it because there was nowhere to rent videos anymore. So
absolutely. Well, it's been a staple in my household as well for many, many years, and a lot of fun. And Always a good one. So Lindsey's pick, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Well, Ron, you said that was your first one. You're up next in the batter's box. Tell us one of your favorite holiday movies.
Well, as I was talking to you over text, I had quite a bit of difficulty narrowing it down. I had to decide whether I wanted to do like a traditional holiday movie or do something more in fitting with my whole aesthetic, which is making stupid hipster choices. So,
or the fact that you actually look like Santa Claus, just a little bit younger.
It's true.
We're debating between Santa Claus and Steak Hag at this point, right?
Or
Santa Claus and Rick Rubin.
There you go, Rick Rubin. Mm-hmm.
But I thought about it quite a bit, and I do have my second choice in the comedy category, but I'm going to go with a non-comedy Christmas movie, and I'm going to go with something that isn't quite a holiday classic yet, but I think in 5 years or 10 years for me it's going to be. I'm going to go with Krampus.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Now,
Appropriate.
everyone seems to be familiar with Krampus. It's a Christmas horror movie that is also a comedy, but also ends up being a very sweet film at the end. And it's one of those movies that's got a bunch of great people in the cast, and it's got some hilarious Christmas-themed monsters. So I'm a big fan of it, and I've watched it every year since it's come out, and I think that I feel comfortable enough in naming it like probably my favorite Christmas horror movie. So
that's some big shoes to fill too. So if you go back in the archives, Nick, you and I did Krampus a few years ago, did we not?
We did, yep. I remember going to see that in the theater. One of like 20 people, I think, when that movie came out that weekend. But it was a good time, though. I remember I took my son there and stuff, and he was a little nervous going into it. But after he saw it was, basically kind of a comedy, he really kind of got into it. But yeah, no, Krampus is a totally fun movie. I love the redneck, uncle that comes over there with the Hummer with the gun rack in the car. I'd buy that car personally. So.
That really is a great movie. The opening credits, like it was recommended to me as a horror movie. I didn't know it was going to be funny. So then when the opening credits start, I can't remember what song is playing, but when it's like this slow-mo thing of what looks like a Black Friday sale of just a horde of people crashing into this department store like it's something out of 28 Days Later, I was just pissing myself laughing. Like, I was so not ready for comedy. And just showing like fights over items and stuff. And my favorite bit is you see people ringing stuff up, swiping their credit cards, looking just so depressed and upset over the amount of money they're spending. But it is a really good horror movie. But that opening stands out for me.
Yeah, anybody who's ever worked retail during the holidays, I'll throw it around the horn to see who else has. Like that was like PTSD flashbacks for me. I was very scared watching the opening of that.
Oh, totally. I remember one year we went to Toys R Us for the Black Friday sale, got there on Thanksgiving night at like 9:00 for like the 10:00 opening. And I am not good with crowds. Jay will probably tell you that. I'm not really, really good with that. And they had to get me a chair to sit in with a bottle of water because there were so many people in the store. I couldn't handle it. So, yep, that beginning of the movie is totally, totally true to life to basically what's going to be happening in, 5 days from this recording.
Yeah, we're doing this one a little bit before Thanksgiving, so yeah.
I've never seen it, so I can't really weigh in, but I guess I'll have to watch it now. Irina, add that to our list.
We have a really, really long running list of Christmas movies because you like them and I don't. But I'm a good friend. I'm supportive of your addiction. It's okay.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We can watch Gremlins.
Are we talking like legit Christmas movies, or are we talking like Hallmark Christmas movies?
You know what? I bet she would sit and watch them. Oh, shush. You would.
Hallmark movies?
Yes.
I mean, I would just judge them the whole time.
I vividly remember having a discussion over wine, so maybe neither of us remember talking about watching Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, I've been forced into watching them on a number of occasions, and
we can watch A Christmas Prince together.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that, but
I'm now having flashbacks till last night as my wife and I was pulled through those as well. But that's what I get back though for making her watch stuff like some of the stuff we've reviewed on this show. So that's only fair. So, Brian, Krampus, have you got anything with Krampus?
I've never seen it myself either, so I can't comment.
Dude, it's like the Leprechaun Goes to Christmas. It's right. You got to see it.
Sold.
Yeah. You got to do
that's
it.
great.
You got to do
I
it.
was gonna just a quick sidebar question. How many movies are in the Christmas horror movie genre? Like, is that a large genre?
More than you
of
think.
It's a good size.
I'm unaware of.
It's a large genre, yeah.
There's quite a
Okay.
bit.
All right. Okay, good to know.
Lindsay, you've mentioned National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Ron, you came with Krampus. So, Kurt, we go to you, my friend, in the Great North. Tell us a good holiday movie or a favorite of yours.
I guess, yeah, anyone who knows me knows this is the movie I was going to bring up. It's been a favorite of mine since I was 4 years old, and it is Tim Burton's Batman Returns.
Whoa.
It's a Christmas movie by technicality at best. It's the Penguin running for mayor of Gotham City, and when that doesn't work out, he plots to kill all the firstborn sons in the city. So it's a classic holiday movie set for whatever reason around Christmas time, which, when combined with all the nightmarish imagery of this movie, just makes it for a very disturbing, one of the darkest Christmas movies ever made, and thusly right up my alley with my personal favorite, Batman, with Michael Keaton, who does anything but overact in this, which is a change of pace for certain other Batman movies. Tons of standout moments in this as a Batman fan, like Batman using his grappling hook to shoot behind a guy and yank out a hunk of concrete to knock a guy out. Or a personal favorite of mine, it does stick with me as a Christmas image, is where one of the Penguin's guys is like a fire eater, breaks into a toy store and lights it on fire. Very disturbing image, like the opening credits of Terminator 2 with all these teddy bears on fire. And then the Batmobile pulls up and the fire eater starts blowing fire on it. A platform comes up from underneath the Batmobile, rotates the car 180 degrees. Batman hits a switch on the afterburner on the Batmobile, sends out a blast, engulfs the guy in fire, definitely killing him, which is something the Burton movies didn't mind doing. And this movie did well in 1992. But it was controversial for how dark and depressing it was for a studio movie aimed at children. But Tim Burton clearly wasn't trying to do that. It got Tim Burton taken off of the next movie and replaced by Joel Schumacher, and everyone knows where it goes from there. And so in 1992, this was seen as too dark and disturbing. But watching it today, I mean, it's not for everybody, but what it is for me is it's a comic book blockbuster unlike any other. A distinct artistic visual style, gruesome violence, frightening imagery. It's a comic book movie where the studio got entirely out of the way and let the director create something unique. And wow, does that not happen with comic book movies these days? Like, I could go on about this movie 4 hours, so I'll just stop now and say Batman Returns is a personal favorite of mine. I would say it's my second favorite Batman movie behind The Dark Knight, and it's at least my favorite Christmas movie.
Kurt, you're going to kill me for this, but the one thing I remember the most from that movie, and I've seen it a billion times, is when Batman takes a CD and does a scratch with it like it was a record. I remember that distinctly. But the thing that you brought up, I think, is so telling, because the fact that Tim Burton lit a toy store on fire lets you know what he thought about the people that were marketing that movie and what they were going to do with it. So that's an interesting choice. I don't hate Batman Returns. I just know that there's parts of it that I don't know, I have trouble with, but it's not that bad. So that's an interesting pick. I'm digging it.
Right on.
Yeah, Batman Returns is after watching that first Batman movie and watching Batman Returns, whoever they decided to do kind of their set design there needed to be fired, because every time I watch that movie, everything on that movie feels like a set. Whereas like that first Batman movie, everything feels really like grandiose, very deep and everything, where even like the beginning scene where they have the Christmas tree and that big present comes out, it's like, wow, it's like, really, like, how do people even get back there? Because it's buildings all around, like in a perfect like square. So I don't know. For me, no disrespect, it's actually one of my least favorite Batman movies, minus the Michelle Pfeiffer leather garb, but that's for a different podcast. So
So you're not wrong about the set design. It's like the first movie was like they built a whole city, very Blade Runner epic feel. And with the new with Batman Returns, it's like you can almost see exactly where the studio ends, and probably where like a car that says security on it or something. Like you can see where everything ends. There's some good matte paintings in it though that do show a whole cityscape. But yeah, it's a complete shift in quality with the art direction, and that might have something to do with the art director of the first movie eating a shotgun. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Oh wow, thanks, Kurt.
Dang.
well, yeah, that actually fits with the holidays. So.
I was going to say that I feel like the artificiality of the sets is kind of a directorial choice. because I think Tim Burton is trying to make a larger overall point, mostly about the superficiality of Christmas and movies in general. I mean, that was just my take on it. I think it felt too obvious to not be a deliberate choice by Tim Burton. Now, maybe he was trying to get fired the whole time. He was like, let me make this movie look like crap. I don't know. But it felt like a decision he was deliberately making.
Well, it's definitely it's a very artistic art director's movie. I'm trying to think. It's like, I'll bet you if he had an unlimited budget, we would see. It's very Tim Burton monochromatic. Everything is black, white, or gray. I wonder if he had an unlimited budget, it would be, a Tim Burton version of the huge open city from the first movie. But I guess they were limited a little bit in 1992 to create something, really big for Gotham. But yeah.
It's always interesting, though, watching the Tim Burton Batman movies, because he is so much more interested in the villains than Batman in, either of the two movies. Where, I guess you look at Tim Burton and it's probably like, yeah, he's part of the more interesting crowd in high school. So maybe he's more interested in kind of the rejects so much. But it is funny, though, when you watch that compared to like the Nolan movies and everything, where Batman's basically the front of the movie, where those first two Burton movies, it's very much villain centric. Where, I mean, even in that first one, Jack Nicholson is the one that gets the, the first credit on there, not, the guy playing Batman, which is, I think, the only time.
Oh yeah, Batman is very much, at least certainly in Batman Returns. I would love to know what his actual number of lines is in the movie, because I remember every time I watch it, there's like a 40-minute gap. It feels like between where like Michael Keaton is just not in the movie from his first appearance to his next appearance. But when you watch it again, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna make if it's going to be that noticeable. But in the second half, Michael Keaton is much more of a prominent figure. But it does stand out. Like you would never make a movie today where like you couldn't make Iron Man 4 where Robert Downey Jr. is out of the movie for a full 30 minutes.
Before I throw it to Brian and Lindsey and Irina, there's a scene in the movie where like the moon or the bat signal comes on and Michael Keaton like turns toward the camera as if to say, "Oh yeah, I'm in this movie."
Well, yeah, that opening scene though, where they have the bat signals go off. Did he have those on top of the house? Like no one noticed that when they all directed it towards his study?
He must not have a lot of people invited over to the house, because it's very plain as day, like a like a 10-foot wide bat signal on top of the house that, he tells people it's a TV satellite, maybe.
I haven't seen this movie in forever. I love the curveball. I don't even think I remembered that it took place around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But I love it. My general rule is if a movie has a Christmas scene, it can be a Christmas movie. So perfect. This is Danny DeVito as the Penguin though, right?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
All right. I'm just making sure I have the movie right in my head. Yep. All I remember from that movie is how great, and by great, I mean just the worst, Danny DeVito looked as the Penguin, like in the best possible way. Like he looked so nasty and dirty, and that image sticks with me. It is so gross. I love a gross Christmas movie.
It is super freaky, the look of him. I think it was like a Leonard Maltin review. They just put this random line in it that always stood out with me. It's like complimenting how good the Stan Winston makeup is on the Penguin. It's like, imagine getting up at 3 a.m. and you turn around and you see that. Like that's how scary that thing is. It really is. Like,
yeah,
Danny DeVito's playing it very with comedy and everything, but like it really is super scary.
And honestly, I really like the darker superhero movies anyway, and the darker Christmas movies. So I mean, Christmas Vacation isn't a dark Christmas movie, but you've got all the family stress there. But I like the term. I like the choice.
Nice.
I think you'd like Krampus then, because a lot of people get murdered.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down for that. I'll watch it later.
And Kurt, to go back to your point about waking up at 3 a.m, I have woken up with my in-laws at 3 a.m, and it is terrifying.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Sometimes it is terrifying. I love the fact that this is your pick as your Christmas movie, Kurt, because one of the like recurring themes through Christmas movies is the orphan that needs like love and tenderness and everything. So it even kind of comes back to that whole Christmas theme with this particular movie.
My parents didn't want me to be number one, so they treated me like number two.
There you go. I'm just saying, it's there. That whole Christmas theme is there.
Oh, for sure. The Penguin and Bruce Wayne, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just remember that this movie was just so gray. That's the biggest thing I took away from it. Everything was gray. There was barely any color. And I thought that kind of took away from it personally. But
yeah, that was some of the buzz at the time. It's like this, the cinematographers on the DVD talking about it. He read a review and said the movie looked like it was shot in an inkwell. And he was like, oh, oops. But that's one of the things that stands out is like, I mean, Hollywood will never make another like blockbuster, $80 million or the equivalent today. They'll never make another movie that looks like this. And that's one thing I actually like about it.
Well, Brian, I'm just going to tell you right now, do not watch the movie The Gray if you don't like that.
Checking it off the list.
Yeah. Well, we've had National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We've had Krampus. We've had Batman Returns. Irina, what have you got for us on your favorite holiday menu?
I'm going to go a completely different route than the rest of you. And I'm going to say Holiday Inn.
Yes.
Wow.
Holiday Inn it was Bing Crosby movie, Fred Astaire. But it's one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it with my mom all the time. I can sing through it. I watch it with my mother-in-law now, even though we don't get along with absolutely everything in life. But so, 1942 musical. But it makes me happy. And there's nothing that elicits more of a holiday response for me than when Bing Crosby takes his damn pipe and dings it along the bells on the Christmas tree. And it makes me cry all the time, but it just screams holiday for me. I think that's because I grew up loving Cole Porter and I'm a musical theater geek.
You were thinking of Virginia Dale, I believe.
Yes, I was. I just Googled that too.
Okay, so now you've hit something I've never seen, never even heard of it, honestly. So
are you kidding me?
No, I missed this one. This is not one I know.
Jay, make it
I've
too.
never
I
seen
have
it
no
either.
idea what you guys are talking about right now.
Yeah. Well, we're not surprised by that, Nick. We're just surprised by Jay not knowing about it.
Expected you to have bad
I'm
taste.
sorry.
Jay.
I have not seen this. I have heard of it because I think this is where White Christmas comes from, I think.
Some of the same music, not all of the same music. I'm not going to say that they come from one another. They're both Cole Porter based musicals, but that's what they did back then. They just borrowed each other's music and made different movies.
Kurt?
For sure. Well, no, I haven't seen it, but it looks good.
Everybody needs to watch Holiday Inn. If you've seen White Christmas.
Well, I have a question for you, Irina.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you. Why did you go with Holiday Inn over White Christmas? Because for me, the ending of White Christmas makes me cry like a baby every time.
Because I'm not you.
That one's so good too.
White Christmas is amazing, but for some reason, Holiday Inn, I don't know whether it's the love story that's in there that just brings out my romantic soul, which is really buried way, way deep. But the way the plot moves to bring two people back together that have been torn apart. And it's, for me, that type of thing in the holidays just kind of brings about the warm and fuzzies.
Brian, I hear you say you hadn't seen White Christmas either?
I have not seen White Christmas.
That's sacrilege.
Wow. I have not seen White Christmas.
We're not surprised by that, Nick.
Well, Nick, next movie night at your house.
Lindsey, you're fired as my best friend.
For the first time. I did. But I've seen it.
You have seen it. So
and it's fresh.
What did you think of that ending, Lindsey?
I might have fallen asleep, actually.
I hate you. Why are you my friend? God. This is why Ron and I are like BFFs over you two.
Don't let people know.
Well, all right. We've had Christmas Vacation. We've had Krampus, Batman Returns, a classic, and Holiday Inn. Nick, it's time for you to lay out a holiday favorite.
Is everyone ready for this?
I hope you are, because I am a big Hallmark Christmas fan, and my favorite movie is Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses, starring Jill Wagner. And it's December brings a new job for an interior designer as potential love interest just happened to be her brand new boss enters her life.
This is a bit.
And
by that, I am completely bullshitting you guys. My favorite Christmas movie is Bad Santa. Okay.
That does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's the movie that really made me really love Billy Bob Thornton, because I truly believe that is how he is in real life. I think, when you see him sitting there pissing himself, drinking like crazy, and boxing a dwarf, that is what I think Billy Bob Thornton does in his normal life. So I watch that every Christmas, probably the first Christmas movie I will watch, which will probably be this Friday. And it's one I think all you guys have seen, right?
I have not seen it. I will admit now, have never seen it.
All right, now we're having another movie night, Jay.
I've only seen it on cable, so I need to get with the times and get the unrated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the unrated. It's great. Just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a plot summary. Basically, Billy Bob Thornton plays Santa Claus at the mall, and he's got a little dwarf helper. And what he does is they end up breaking into the mall on Christmas Eve night, and he does that by infiltrating the mall and, kind of learning everything about it as he plays Santa Claus. But he's also just beyond being a drunk. As I mentioned, he pisses himself when he has kids on his lap. He's really into banging bigger women in the bathroom stall and doing all types of weird stuff with them. So, and it's a great raunchy movie, and it's completely Christmassy. So it's definitely, like I said, my favorite.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so you joined my club.
Haven't seen it.
Okay, Irina, clearly we need to have some.
Is this an intervention, Lindsay?
Okay, so Lindsay, you've seen it, so yes. do tell, please.
So I love, Irina, that you brought up the orphan theme earlier, because this kind of is an orphan theme. The little boy in the movie, he's not an orphan, but he's kind of been abandoned, and his grandmother, who is not all with it, just kind of chills, and he takes care of himself. But then he finds Billy Bob, and they become each other's special friend. That came out wrong. They weren't each other's special friend. He becomes like a weird, fucked up father figure, but it's just so sweet. And he's just this kid is just heartbreakingly delightful. I don't know how else to put that. He's just so aloof, and the whole movie is just hilarious.
The kid she mentions, basically, he's he's very overweight, but he wears clothes that are about 2 times as, too small for him. And his grandma is always wanting to make sandwiches. And the kid keeps on getting his butt kicked throughout the movie by these bullies. And one of them kind of looks like Draco Malfoy from the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
But, he's obsessed with Santa Claus, even though he's probably 13, 14, where you think he should be past that stage. But then you find out his dad's in jail, his mom's nowhere to be found, and his grandma is, she's probably a couple days away from being put into a hospice. So it's kind of a story about them, kind of developing somewhat of a friendship over the time. And, Billy Bob Thornton, the love interest in there is the mom from Gilmore Girls.
Lauren Graham. So, yeah, Lauren Graham.
Yeah, and she's got a Santa Claus fetish.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, that's disturbing. Okay, Kurt, I heard you kind of weighing in and back there. Have you seen Bad Santa?
I have seen it. I only saw it the once. It was a few years ago, but I did like it a lot. It's all about Billy Bob Thornton. It's like you wouldn't think to put him in a movie like this where he's the lead in a comedy, but because when Billy Bob Thornton's good, he's usually good as some kind of a scumbag, and he plays such a dirtbag in this movie. And seeing him as a mall Santa, just makes it funny. It's a nice kind of crime comedy too, because he's trying to what is he like? He's burglaring the mall after hours, and there's a great character played by the late great Bernie Mac. He's like the mall security guard, like the mall detective,
and John Ritter,
and John Ritter, who's also good too. And it is it's a very good movie. Executive produced by the Coen brothers, and I think you can kind of tell it's got their sensibilities in it with some of the sense of humor and the darkness of the crime and stuff. But yeah, it is a good movie. And from what I heard Billy Bob Thornton tell this story, it came out around the same time as Elf. And apparently, since Bad Santa is R-rated, from what he understands, is that kids were going to buy tickets to Elf, and they were seeing Bad Santa. So Billy Bob Thornton went up to Will Ferrell. It's like, you owe me like $60 million.
That's awesome.
Maybe that was the decision. Maybe they wanted to see Billy Bob Thornton instead of wait, who was in that? Will Ferrell?
Oh
Yeah.
Will Ferrell.
See, I can't make my way through Elf, so apologies to anyone who loves it.
Lindsay, take care of this.
Well, all right. We've had National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We've had Krampus. We've had Batman Returns. We've had Holiday Inn. We've now had Bad Santa. Brian, it is your turn, my man. What's one of your favorite holiday movies?
Well, I want to say Polar Express, but I'm not going to.
But
I'd
it's
like
so
to say
good.
A Christmas Story, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go with a classic that Jay and I stumbled upon several years back. Maybe I'm going with the classic Santa's Sleigh, starring the one and only Bill Goldberg. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
A Jewish Santa. Rock on. It's so bad. It's good.
Okay, so hold on a minute. You and Ron and I reviewed that a few Christmases back. You go back to the archives and listen, but please, Brian, do tell our newer cast members who may have not been around during that time what it was about Santa's Sleigh that was so special.
The fact that everyone in it was Jewish doing a Christmas movie was awesome. And the fact that Bill Goldberg was a pissed off Santa killing people because he had to spend 1,000 years being nice to everyone as a punishment. That was just fantastic. It was just too good to pass up. It's so bad, it's good.
That is a solid choice, Brian. That is a very solid choice.
Now, is this the one though that has the cover where it's Santa's and they like cross it out there so it looks like it's Satan's sleigh?
Yeah, like if you turn it a certain way, the hologram changes. Yeah, same one. Yeah, like his face goes from jolly to like having fangs and all kinds of stuff. There's a rocket launcher involved, and isn't like Emily DeRaven in that too or something? I can't say.
Jay, if I'm not mistaken, the premise is that Satan got punished but had to be Santa for 1,000 years, and after the 1,000 years are up, he can go back to being Satan and wearing this jolly Christmas outfit, going around killing people. It's fantastic.
That is awesome choice. That was a fun watch. I don't know that it makes my usual rotation, but I may have to rewatch it now. So, okay, Ron, you were on that show, so please weigh in.
Now that you mentioned that, Brian, I'm going to have to rewatch it too because it's been a long time. And I remember enjoying it a lot. And I think it would make a good 1-2 punch with Krampus. So I think I may have to do have a little movie night.
Christmas Horror Night.
It really sounds like the Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas like jumped into another movie to me personally. But I'll have to watch it. Lindsay,
it's worth
add
watching.
that to the list.
I did. It's already on it.
She's probably writing a list too.
I am. It's right
There
here.
you go.
She's making a list.
She's gonna check that shit twice.
It twice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why she's one of my best friends.
It's worth watching for the scene with the preacher. Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good. All right. I'll defer. You guys can go ahead and get that one because it's worth the $5 I spent on that DVD.
It sounds like a movie marathon is going to happen for Lindsay and I, and we're just gonna like Skype all of you and make you like sit there with us.
Just make sure you've got like the camera over your shoulder so we can see the TV while you're Skyping, and we can all just watch.
That's fine. Yeah. We can manage that, I'm sure. We got talent.
Put it on Twitch. Kurt, what about you? You ever seen Santa's Sleigh?
I have not seen it. I heard of it, and from the everything I've heard about it, or like the look of it, looks like it's a straightforward like slasher movie. But from the sound of it, it sounds like it's a comedy.
Oh yeah.
And you saying
I think it's a slasher movie, but it turns into a comedy while watching it. I mean, it just you can't help but laugh at some of the stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the cast here. Some of the actors in it, like James Caan, Fran Drescher, Saul Rubinek, and Dave Thomas. This actually sounds like like you're saying so bad it's good. It sounds like I'm going to check this out.
Yeah,
they picked the most Jewish cast they could have picked.
Yes, they did.
Like, how can you get more Jewish than Fran? I'm sorry. Like, New York Jew is right there.
And the director, David Steinman.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. It is
Just
like
the list that goes on and on.
I love it.
like I can imagine the discussion at the studio and it just turning into like this joke that didn't end. Like, hey, Bill Goldberg wants to do like a horror movie or something. I don't know. Why don't we cast him as like Satan Claus? Ha 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 ha. Hey, that's kind of funny. Isn't he Jewish? Yeah. I bet Dave Thomas would do it. He ain't doing nothing right now. Okay. Hey, you know what, Dave? Are you friends with any like other people? Like, yeah, Saul Rubinek will come on. Like, it just became this thing that I don't know that that's true. I'm just inventing it. And now, Ron, go put that on IMDb. Somebody will quote that somewhere along the way. And so it's now canon. Like, we've spoken it into existence. So, well, my goodness, what a collection of things we have listed here. So, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We've had Krampus, Batman Returns, Holiday Inn, Bad Santa, and now Santa's Sleigh. Brian did name drop a couple others. Polar Express, Christmas Story. I had Christmas Story on a list. That's one I kind of liked. I did mention in the November session show that there's a version of the Christmas Carol that I dig, but I'll be honest with you, if there's one movie I watch every Christmas, and it never fails every Christmas, it's a movie that taught me how the commodities brokerage works, and that's 1983's Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy and this, Jamie Lee Curtis, my scream queen always, Ralph Bellamy, Don Amici's in this, Denholm Elliott, and then even good old Paul Gleason, who plays Clarence Beeks, and also I think he gets totally violated by a gorilla in that movie or something like that. I mean, the movie is insane, okay? But it is Eddie Murphy at the height of his powers, and I'm so glad to see Eddie back again. I rewatched the Dolomite is My Name thing recently again. Ron, you and I did Dolomite way back in the day, and Eddie totally has Rudy Ray Moore down. I mean, it's so funny. But Trading Places to me, y'all, is a perfect Christmas movie. And if you don't know the story by any chance, Dan Aykroyd plays this real snooty broker who befalls a bet that he doesn't even know is happening. His two bosses decide, like, if you take that guy and put him in the worst circumstances, and you take a guy off the street and you put him in Dan Aykroyd's circumstances, the results will be exactly the same. And so they bet $1 over this, and they grab Eddie Murphy off the street, he's just a hustler, and put him in Dan Aykroyd's life, and they ruin Dan Aykroyd's life to the point that he looks like what I imagine Bad Santa looks like. He's disheveled and pulling, like, pastries out of his beard and all kinds of crazy stuff. He gets a gun and shoots up a Christmas party. And Eddie Murphy goes from being, again, a street hustler to being like, no, I think I will retire for the evening. It was just hilarious stuff. And then Jamie Lee Curtis plays the hooker with the heart of gold, literally, who rescues them both. And I love that movie and will stump for it every day of the week. So anybody else got thoughts about Trading Places?
I've never seen it.
Oh, fix that.
That's what you have to see.
Lindsay,
Irina,
add that to the list.
I added it to the list already.
We have a really long list going, don't we? It's going to be a marathon at Lindsay's house. I'm just going to invite everybody to Virginia.
Welcome to come. I've got plenty of space. Bring an air mattress.
I've got all the air mattresses. Y'all don't need to bring them. It's fine.
That is a great choice, and that is a great movie, Jay.
Yeah, when I was making up a list of Christmas movies, I totally looked over and forgot about Trading Places. That movie is outstanding. You're saying it's Eddie Murphy at his prime. It's also John Landis in his prime. He had a stretch there of movies, like it's a Kentucky Fried Movie, Animal House, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, and then this. It's like, if he did nothing else after that, it's like that's enough to say he's one of the best comedy directors ever. And yeah, it is hilarious. Like, yeah, Dan Aykroyd is a pretty underrated actor, because he has to play a lot of levels. He has to play the snooty guy who goes, the snooty upper class guy who, had his low point in the movie. Like Eddie Murphy calls out to him, "Hey, Winthorpe." He just looks at him and goes, and the way it's shot is so dark and disturbing. And yeah, he pulls out like an entire salmon fillet out of his beard. Just weird stuff like that. That's such a.
Nick, what about you?
I've never seen it, Jay.
Oh, we're going to fix that. So.
Actually, no, I have seen like 30 seconds of it, but that's about it.
Oh man, that's definitely one I think you should add to your list.
Nick,
you're not gonna guess what 30 seconds I've seen.
I was about to say it's the part where Jamie Lee Curtis takes her top off.
It is.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Also known as when in Scream as when she decided to go legit. So as they say. So, Brian, what about you?
I've seen this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I think it's a fantastic film. God, I haven't seen it in years, though. I need to see it again. But yes, I remember watching this when I was younger with my dad, and we just were on the floor laughing so hard. So, yeah, definitely a great pick.
Now, I made the joke at the beginning there that it taught me about the commodities brokerage or whatever, and that's only half untrue because, like, my brother, who's 5 years older than me, big economics geek and stuff like that, especially when he was growing up. And so by the time I got to see this, which was probably like, I don't know, 1988, 89, somewhere like I was at least like 12 or so, and he was older, so he was in high school. He was sitting there watching that going like, that actually would work. Like, frozen orange juice isn't a thing, but like all what they're doing would actually work. And then years later, I saw something in like Forbes where they broke down like, yeah, this is actually how that would work, and it's totally accurate, and they brought in these economists to do it, and the guy who wrote the article, who was an economist himself, said, that's actually why I got into this, was because I saw Trading Places, and I was like, see, career help as you're watching a good movie.
I've seen this movie like, maybe 8 times, and I like to think of myself as a fairly smart guy, but every time we get to that bit, I just completely like, it's exciting because it's like the intensity of the stock market, but I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, all I know is what Eddie Murphy said, and it made sense. Is we did, he didn't think we could get rich and make y'all poor at the same time. So, and that's pretty much every day. So, but yeah, I love Trading Places. So, all right, so to run our list again, Lindsay, you went with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Ron, you had Krampus. Kurt, you went with Batman Returns. Irina, you went with Holiday Inn. Nick, you had Bad Santa. Brian, you stuck with the Santa Sleigh and went Santa's Sleigh, and then I brought up Trading Places. But there's a lot of Christmas movies you didn't get to mention. And Ron, you had asked me offline and said, hey, I want to talk about like a slate of them, and you dropped it earlier. Talk a little bit about Shane Black's Christmas oeuvre.
Well, in case you're unfamiliar, Shane Black is Mr. Christmas. Basically, every movie he's done from Lethal Weapon on forward has a Christmas component to it. So let me read a little thing from an Entertainment Weekly thing that Shane Black did. When asked about his obsession with Christmas, it tends to be a touchstone for me, he admits. Christmas represents a little stutter in the march of days, a hush in which we have a chance to assess and retrospect our lives, which I think is very sweet from a guy who was hired on to The Predator to add jokes to a movie where a giant monster tries to kill everyone.
Yes.
But yeah, Shane Black, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys. Pretty much every movie he makes has a piece of Christmas involved in it or is set at Christmas. And it was inspired by the first time he saw another Christmas movie we didn't mention, 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh, yeah. It's also
I haven't seen that one either. But I appreciate the fact that there's a theme going on with this director.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lethal Weapon. How can you not talk about that? And
you know what? I can't listen to Jingle Bell Rock without thinking of Lethal Weapon.
Right. And
like every time it comes on the radio, I'm like, up and there's Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. And
no.
Done.
Jingle Bell Rock devolves into like Eric Clapton and David Sanborn and Michael Kamen and some girl jumping out of a roof. Like that's it.
Either way, what else do you think about when you hear Jingle Bell Rock? Like none of us can think of anything else except that damn movie.
See, when I hear that song though, I think of Mean Girls. That's just what I think.
Oh yeah,
you would. Yeah, he is the mean girl. Like we can't get around it. He's gonna sing that Jingle Bell Rock with his like super cute outfit on all day.
Oh yeah, I'm the Rachel McAdams of the cast.
Adorable.
No doubt. Well, folks, thanks for joining us on this very special edition, and I do mean special edition of Film Strip Sessions. We really appreciate your support throughout the year. Please follow the podcast at Film Strip Pod on Twitter. You can also look at Film Strip Podcast on Facebook. And now we're going to go around the horn and let people know how you can follow them on social media. Lindsay?
It's Lindsay Luhu, so LINZ_LU_who on Instagram.
You can follow me at Hollywood Ron on Twitter, and you can read my writing additionally at denofgeek.com and denofgeek.us and possibly some other places that I'm working on. So there you go.
You can find me on Facebook. We have the Fabish Factor Film Group on Facebook where we try to have conversations somewhere along the lines of the ones we just had. You can also find me on Letterboxd, where I do my film reviews. And of course, there's the Fabish Factor Film Podcast.
Kurt's Letterboxd, by the way, is really good.
Thanks, man.
I'm glad Ron said it. Following Kurt is an educational experience. I learn more about film every day. But you can follow me, Irina, at eye.nerd on Instagram, or on Twitter at EYESING. So I sing on Twitter.
Hey, old man Nick, you're still swearing off the social media?
Yep.
Good choice. You can find me on Twitter. I don't use it very often, but I'm Brian Thomas 878. You can find me on my records site is Brian's Vinyl Records on Instagram, on Facebook and YouTube, and Brian's Vinyl Rec on Twitter.
Fantastic. So again, folks, thanks so much for your support of our podcast here, and we'll look forward to some real fun things in 2020. We've got a good bit recorded already, but as you can tell with this group of people, there's always more fun stuff to come up around the bend. So for Lindsey, Ron, Kurt, Irina, Nick, Brian, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Thank you for listening to Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Film Strip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.